Hello and welcome back to your South King County Real Estate Update. Today is a very special episode of your South King County Real Estate Update because it is your second birthday. Show just turned 2. Go ahead and jump into these slides here. So today is May 6, 2022. And thank you so much for 2 wonderful years. I probably should have done this last week, but our first episode aired April 24th, 2020. So just after the pandemic started. This was supposed to be something that I did during the stay-at-home order and enjoying it, getting some good feedback. So I decided to keep on with it. And we have reached our 2-year mark. Just wanted to say a quick thank you and very happy birthday to the show. Woo! Isn't this cool? The flame is actually the same color as the candle. But happy birthday to King County Real Estate Update. We are 2 years old. Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump back on into the slides here because we want to talk about what happened this week. Last weekend, I took some clients out. I've been working with them for quite a while. They're very particular about what they're looking for and willing to wait until they find it. And last weekend, we went and saw 3 homes in the same weekend. We haven't had that opportunity since we started looking a couple years ago. And it is, well, a few years ago. It's been very tight inventory. So the fact that we actually had 3 homes to see in the same day was phenomenal. It makes me feel very optimistic that we are close to finding the right one, just because we have more to choose from. And that's really, really exciting to see. And then earlier this week, when I went back and looked at what happened with those homes, we decided not to put an offer on any of them. Out of the 3, 2 of them went pending this past week, but one of them did survive its offer review date. And that is something that we probably wouldn't have seen a couple months ago. It was also the lowest price home that we saw that survived the review date. So that was a little surprising. I thought if I had picked one of the houses that I thought was going to survive that offer review date, I would have picked the highest priced one, partially just because fewer people can afford it. But yeah, I was really surprised that this beautiful home in Beer Inn didn't sell right away. So that is something that is great news for buyers, not as great for sellers, but sellers, it is still a fantastic seller's market. So we have been cruising along at 190 miles an hour, and we slowed down to like 170, 160, and we're still going real fast. You just have to be a little bit more realistic about setting your initial listing price and realizing that you may have to wait a little bit longer than one weekend for your home to sell. Go ahead and jump back into these slides. So this is the April press release from Northwest MLS. Improving housing inventory, rising costs may bring some normalcy to Western Washington market. This is a quote from J. Lennox Scott, chairman and CEO of John L. Scott. The Puget Sound housing market has shifted down several levels of hotness in most areas and is more in alignment with the strong market we saw pre-pandemic. Not all homes are selling within the first week on market, as I just mentioned. Intensity adjustment means multiple offers will not be as commonplace as they've been in the last 2 years. So instead of seeing like 10 to 30 offers on a home, maybe we'll see 2 to 5. And I thought this was interesting as well. For the 26 counties covered by the MLS, sales price ratio is at 107.8%, which is down from March when it was at 108.2%. Don't get me wrong, homes are still selling at an average of almost 108% of list price. It's just down ever so slightly from over 108% of list price. So things are still often getting bid up above list price. and going very quickly. It's just not everything is going the first weekend like it was. But King County is still pretty short on inventory. For King County, we are down about 35% from a year ago on inventory. Southwest King County is down 49%. So this is one of those reasons why those prices are remaining super strong is basic supply and demand. Our supply has gotten depleted so quickly that the demand for the few homes that are still on the market is pretty high. Single family home prices increased nearly 20% from a year ago. Lawrence Yun, the chief economist of National Association of Realtors, said that affordability had greatly worsened in the first quarter of 2022 due to that price appreciation and higher mortgage rates that we can expect to go up for at least a little bit here. And really, I think that we have seen fewer sales this year, and I think that'll continue throughout the rest of 2022 than we saw in 2021. 2021 was like one of the hottest markets we've ever had. Homes were still coming on the market and going boom, boom, boom right away. So the fact that we're not in the hottest year market that we've ever had as far as number of home sales, I think that's mainly due to the lack of supply. The buyer demand is there. It's just there's not a lot out there, and more due to the raising interest rates and the raising prices. Some buyers have had to drop out of the market or shop at a lower price point or decide to wait and see what happens in the future. King County median home price nears $1 million, but market shows signs of cooling. There are more new listings still on the market at the end of the month, this past month, than the month before. And it would take slightly longer in all three of these counties to sell through all the homes based on the current demand. Median single family home in King County sold for $995,000, up 7% from a month earlier and up 20% since last April. So we are at a median single family home price in King County as a whole of just shy of $1 million here. That price increase is pretty notable. And this is kind of what we are expecting mortgage rates to keep going up, at least for the little bit here, and that to knock some buyers out of the pool. Decreased demand means home prices won't rise as quickly, but projections are still pretty much across the board that home prices will continue to rise over the next year, 5 years, whatever increment I've seen. Everybody is still expecting home prices to continue to rise, just at a slower pace. And you can see the April home sales in King County. Closed sales in Southwest King County and Southeast King County are down in both areas, and median prices are up in both areas. This is that lack of supply. Closed sales are down, but the lack of supply is keeping the prices still pretty high. And home price activity, you can see the year over year for April in King County was 830 to 995. We went down a little bit, and then from January we have shot straight up. And do remember that whenever these month-end stats come out, these are stats for April. We are now in May. May is a different market than April. And so we're kind of looking at historical data trying to predict where things are going to go headed forward. But pending sales dipped 5% from March to April and down 15% from the same time a year ago. King County condos are also up. Median price was up 4% from March and 13% from the year before. And it's not just Seattle. This is a national thing where pending home sales are decreased and prices are increasing nationwide. That is kind of what we are seeing all over. And Lawrence Yun said that inflation, rising fuel prices, and higher mortgage rates will make homes less affordable and slow the market. So there will be some people that drop out of the market. For those people that do stay in the market, it could be kind of a wash, because even though interest rates are higher, you're not having to bid 150, 200K over the list price to secure the home. So your end payment to secure the home may be a little higher, a little lower, but it shouldn't be as significant as if those homes were still getting bid up that much. And condos in Southwest King County and Southeast King County, we saw a slight increase on closed sales, but it was just 8% in Southwest and 5% in Southeast King County, whereas median prices did tick up in both of those areas as well, 8% in Southwest King County and almost 30% in Southeast King County for condos. And this is the percent change in median prices. The darker the red, the greater the change. So you can see in most of South King County here, we are in the 20, just shy of 30% increase in prices. But there are a few places that are a little bit less, or mostly closer to Seattle. And that brings us to our Market Stat Minute. For new listings, we had 1,076, 980 pendings, and 908 sold in the last 7 days in King County. You can see we didn't change that much from last week, ticked up ever so slightly in new listings, a little bit more in pendings, and sold is pretty much a wash. If we break it down to our local area markets, Renton, barely Federal Way, and barely Auburn, we did have fewer new listings come on in the last 7 days than pendings. But in Kent, that is the reverse. We actually have quite a few more new listings than pendings in the last 7 days. So if you are looking to buy a home in South King County, maybe check out Kent. There may be a few more options for you in that area. And last week, our weekly average mortgage rate was at 5.1, and this week we have ticked up to 5.27. A year ago, we were at 2.96. So that's quite a difference. And the majority of that increase has taken place in the last 3 months. And the Fed is suggesting that they will continue to raise the rate going forward, the federal funds rate. Bring it to today's rate, we are at 5.64 according to Mortgage News Daily. So that's a pretty significant increase. I had my choice of what stories to cover. There was so many stories about the Fed meeting this past week, raising the Fed funds rate by 0.5 point. That is not directly raising mortgage rates. In fact, mortgage rates have been rising in anticipation of this meeting for quite some time. So this isn't really much of a surprise, but it did happen this last week and it is all over the news. And we can only expect rates to continue to go up throughout the year. How higher Fed rates stand to affect Americans' finances. Of all of the articles that I had to choose from, I settled on this one because it actually broke it down to a little bit more applicable knowledge. So something you can actually use. The 0.5 point hike in its benchmark short-term rate does not directly affect the mortgage rates, as I said before, but it will result in much higher borrowing costs across the loan types. So the Feds are raising the interest rates to fight inflation. Inflation is at the highest it's been in a very long time, decades. And that is not great. We're seeing prices raise so quickly. It's just not good for the economy, for Americans in general. So they're raising the rate to borrow money. In doing that, that should help temper the inflation. However, this is very risky because if they raise the rates too quickly, then we could tip into a recession. And there's a lot of economists that think that this is going to happen. Not everybody. There's a lot of debate on what people think is going to happen in that area. But there is the possibility of a recession coming along in the future. I'm considering buying a house. Well, mortgage rates keep going up. And as I was saying before, the Fed doesn't really set the mortgage rates. And sometimes they can even move in the opposite direction for a period of time. The long-term mortgage rates tend to track the 10-year Treasury note. But for now, faster inflation and strong U.S. economic growth are sending the 10-year Treasury rate up sharply. As a consequence, mortgage rates have jumped 2 full percentage points since just the beginning of the year to 5.1 on average for the 30-year fixed mortgage. And we know it's gone up a little bit more since this was published a couple days ago. If you're looking to buy a home and are frustrated by the lack of available houses, which has triggered bidding wars and eye-watering prices, that's unlikely to change soon. We just don't have anywhere near enough inventory. So even if you take a bunch of the buyers out of the buyer pool, we still don't have enough houses. The surge in mortgage rates will temper the pace of home price appreciation as more would-be home buyers are priced out. So demand for the homes will decrease a little bit. That'll slow price appreciation. No decrease in pricing, but because of all the demand, that's not really what we're expecting to see here. The number of homes available remains incredibly low historically. And mortgage rates are likely to continue to move higher throughout the balance of 2022, although the pace of rate increases is likely to moderate. Much of the increase in rates in early 2022 is in anticipation of what will happen later this year, especially with Federal Reserve interest rate policy. And this is from the Deputy Chief Economist at Freddie Mac. So we are expecting interest rates to go up. We are expecting it to affect buyer demand a little bit, but not as much as it could. Yeah, it's still a great time to sell. If you can still get in on the market on buying a home, it's still a great time to buy a home. If interest rates continue to go up, if you buy a home now, you lock in that current interest rate. And when rates go down in the future, you can take advantage of that lower interest rate by refinancing on that home. So if interest rates go up in the future and you don't buy in and you're renting, the costs of owning a home are going to increase, and those costs will get passed along to the renters. Cost of renting generally tends to go up through even in times of recession. If you look at it, historical perspective, both home prices, home values, and rents go up throughout recessionary periods. And just a little note, I will not be here with your news next week. I will be out of town. So I will be back here Friday, May 20th. Just want to say once again, thank you so much for 2 awesome years. I can't believe it has been this long since we got the show going. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to have a conversation with you about the real estate market in your area, or just chat about the market in general, answer any questions you may have. So just reach out. And thank you so much for joining me for the special 2nd birthday episode of South King County Real Estate Update. I'm going to enjoy this cupcake now. Have a fantastic couple of weeks, and I will see you on Friday the 20th.